This is an oral interview conducted for the Witness to War Serving a Nation project at Nauset Regional High School in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. For the sake of this interview, please state your full name and community in which you now reside.
Ethan Michael McCullough in Brewster, Mass.
What was your childhood like?
Childhood was pretty great. I grew up in Brewster, Massachusetts, where I went to Nauset Regional Middle School and high school. Played sports and tried helping out my community as much as I could during those years.
What did you like to do?
Playing sports and working out. Played lacrosse and football, so if I wasn't playing a sport, I was training for the sport, so that's pretty much it.
Which sport was your favorite out of?
Lacrosse.
So you grew up in Brewster, but were you born somewhere else?
Yes, I was born in Springfield, Mass, and I lived in Springfield, Mass until I was about 1 or 2, and then I moved to Brewster.
What made you enlist in the Army?
My ultimate goal was to really help people, and I tried out college, and at the point I wasn't really mature enough to finish school. So after football season in college at Curry College, I dropped out with my best friend Ben. He joined the Navy and I joined the Army, and I guess it was just another way to get to my final goal, which was being either law enforcement or a fire department, trying to help out the rest of the community.
Do you wish that Ben joined the Army with you?
I do, just so I could hang out with him more. We were best friends and did everything together as kids. But he loves his life in the Navy, and he's still in. He's been in for 8 years, or coming up on 8 years. So.
And why the Army?
I picked the Army just because it had the widest range of jobs, even though I wanted to do one specific job, which was the infantry. If I went Marine Corps, I couldn't exactly choose my job. They'd mostly choose it for you. So, being in the Army, I had the choice.
What specifically about the infantry made you want to join?
I don't know. I'm a very physical kind of guy. Growing up playing lacrosse and football, being in the infantry and being a grunt was just, the best change. It's more of a brotherhood. You wake up, do your PT every morning, running, working out, and then shooting and training all day. It's as close as you can get to a brotherhood and family, so that's why I picked it.
Are you still very close with some of those people?
Oh yeah, I keep contact with them just about every day. FaceTime, text message, calls. All my friends either have families of their own, or we spent time with each other's families, so we had to stay close because that's all we had when we were in places without our own family. So,
what was your role?
I started off as a private, like most people do. When I first got in, I was a machine gunner. I had a 240 Bravo, which is a belt-fed machine gun, and then I went to a AG, which is an assisted gunner, which is more of the advanced machine gunner, kind of like the machine gunner spotter and helper. And then I went to the rifle squad, where being the bigger guy, I was mostly kicking in the doors, blowing up the doors with a shotgun or whatever. And then I went back to being an AG and a team leader.
Do you miss that position?
I do. I mean, anywhere in life you can choose to kind of be the leader. So I don't miss it as much as I thought I would, because any situation I'm in, if I need to be a leader, I can be. And that's what the military kind of gave me. So, yeah.
What was your most memorable moment?
I don't know, I had a lot of memorable moments. I guess one of bigger ones, I guess, would be in the Philippines. I was teaching some of their special forces guys in the Philippines, the Philippine Army, and teaching their machine gunners the U.S. machine gunner tactics kind of thing. And I actually got an award from the Philippine general for doing such a great job and training their guys and their soldiers. So that was pretty cool.
Were the Philippines the only place that you traveled? Or?
No, I traveled. We went to Korea, Thailand, and Guam. So mostly I was stationed in Washington State, so we were attached to. We did like the whole Asia area and Pacific side of the world. So we did a lot of, exactly as I said, Guam, Thailand, Philippines, and Korea. That's mostly where we are.
What did you do in those places?
Train the military forces there, and we trained and then did a lot of combined drills just in case anything really big in the world happened. So that way we could work together as partner forces, the U.S. and other countries.
Did you ever build relations with any of those people?
Yes, yeah. It's hard. The Philippines was a lot harder just because they didn't really have Facebook. But a lot of the Korean soldiers, they had Facebook, yet he couldn't really pronounce their names right or whatever. But you tried. I don't know, I got a couple of friends from the Korean military that I have their Facebooks and I still kind of keep in touch with. But other than that, I mean, we ate our meals together. We did everything. We traded patches and everything. That was probably one of the coolest experiences with all these other militaries is when you're done with your training event, everyone trades their patches over and some of their gear, so you end up with different armies' gear they end up with here, so it's pretty cool.
What were some of the most interesting patches and like gear stuff that you got?
A lot of their patches were more detailed, kind of. Ours is just kind of writing, you know. You got your Ranger tabs and all these different tabs. Theirs are all these cool dragons. They have a lot of cool different stuff.
Which country would you say had the coolest?
As far as, I would say Philippines. They're used to jungle training and like fighting in jungles, training in jungles, so their uniforms are pretty sweet, and they were kind of close to ours as far as material wise, so that was pretty cool.
How did your family react to your enlistment?
I was the only one in my family to enlist in the military, so my mom took it pretty harsh at the beginning, and then seeing kind of how it transformed me, she was thankful that I went in and I came back out okay. So
were you fearful at first?
No, I was excited. It's just like a different path. So
who was the most influential person you met during service?
Probably my squad leader who turned into my platoon sergeant, and his name was Sergeant Ingram, and I keep contact with him to this day, just about every day. He always checks in. He checked in on us every single day. He'd come in on the weekends, even though he had a family of his own, to just make sure we were okay through the weekends. And yeah.
Would you say that he's one of your closest bonds?
I would, yeah. Yep, definitely.
What was your life like in the Army?
It was fun. You know, if we weren't training, if it was just a regular week in garrison life, it's like a normal 9-to-5 job, except you start off at 5 in the morning and work till 5 at night. You start off with PT in the morning, you go from PT to breakfast back to work. You'll work till about lunchtime, unless you're doing something you can't eat lunch, then you just work throughout. Get off around 5, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. Do it all again the next day. And if you're training, it's non-stop training for however long you went, month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it was, a week. You just wake up in your sleeping bag, put your clothes on, train, go to bed, do it all again the next day. So, depending on what you were doing.
What was your favorite thing to do in that routine?
Really the downtime. Because we could just talk to all of our friends about how much it stunk, how much it really sucked and how cold it was or how hot it was and how dumb it was that we were doing this. Or that's really where the memories get built, is when you're training and you have your downtime. Obviously the training's fun, your adrenaline's going, but the downtime was my favorite.
What was the hardest part of your training?
Just being away from family and friends. For me, I was stationed in Washington State, so obviously my family back here in Brewster, Mass, is about 3,500 miles away. So it didn't really matter as much to me as looking around and seeing some of my best friends and their little girls or their little boys, their brothers, their sisters that are there with them. That was the hardest part for me. I knew that my family was far away, but for these guys, their family was right where they're supposed to be, with them. So,
If it was possible, would you have been stationed somewhere near your family? Would that have made it easier?
It would, I guess, a little bit, but it's not like you have the most time in the world. I could be a couple hours away, and I don't think it would make the biggest difference. Obviously, for holidays and traveling, would make it a little bit easier. Wouldn't have to pay for a plane ticket home. I could probably just drive home. But it wouldn't make it too much easier now, I don't think.
What was the most cool place that you visited?
I really did like Korea. Korea was different. You went to a country that spent the last 50 years preparing for war. So all their bridges are rigged to blow. They have machine gun nests everywhere, artillery hidden everywhere in the woods and the mountains. We were actually right next to the DMZ line, which is a demilitarized zone, and we could hear the North Korean music playing every day, every night. So that was probably the coolest experience.
What specifically did you do when you were near the DMZ line?
We just trained. We were told that if anything happened, it was during the nuclear kind of threats from North Korea, when the U.S. sent over extra naval fleets and a couple of SEAL teams. So we were, just chilling out, really, training, just in case anything happened. We were there.
Was that nuclear threat intimidating at all?
No. You train for it. Not like you just do the best you can with what you got.
When you were in Korea, were you guys also training troops there, like you were in the Philippines and Guam?
Yes. Yep. So we were doing the exact same thing. We were training them, just in case anything did happen. We were trying to fight with them side by side to see how, you train in a situation like that to see exactly how the war would go, how a fight would go. You want to be able to understand your partners, even though you don't speak the same language. You can learn each other's tactics, and that way it's more efficient if it needs to be used.
How did you guys communicate with the language barriers and stuff?
We had interpreters for the U.S. side and the Korean side. So they had the Koreans had their own real interpreters that actually wore U.S. uniforms, but had their Korean flags on it, and they spoke both Korean and English.
When you were in Korea, did you travel to other places other than the DMZ and stuff?
Yeah, so we started right on the DMZ line. So we flew in, we went straight to the DMZ. We were there for about a month and a half, 2 months maybe. And then we moved back to Camp Casey, which is a little bigger. It's actually an actual base in Korea, U.S. base in Korea, and so we went there for a little bit, and then moved to Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea, where we did some more training, really chilled out, and then we left. We were able to visit spent a couple of nights in Seoul, where we were able to do some things. Went to a couple of baseball games, which was pretty fun. Korean baseball is amazing. But yeah, not too much traveling.
What were the people like abroad?
Korea, the people, it was hit or miss. They're all really nice, but some of them didn't want us there. A lot of them did. The Philippines, it's just a country that's really deprived of currency, so they would steal what they could, kind of thing. They had to make sure they were nice to you, but at the same time, if you weren't looking, they'd steal your patches right off your back. You know, they'd come up and give you a hug. Next thing you know, you look down and all your patches are gone. So,
Were you ever concerned in the Philippines that stuff was missing?
no, I wasn't really concerned that stuff was missing. No, I kept a good accountability of all my stuff and kept it all in tight corner. But we actually had police escorts pretty much wherever we went outside of the base. So it was different.
What were the police escorts like?
Nothing special. You know, we got off the plane, got onto a bus. They had police cruisers right in front of us and behind us just to make sure we got to our location safe. That's about it.
What was it like traveling from the U.S. to other countries?
Tiring. Flights are long, boring. I mean, nobody likes a 17-hour flight or however long it is. So.
What are some of your least favorite things about being in the Army?
I didn't have I guess just being away from family. Yeah, I really didn't have a lot of. I recommend it to a lot of people, especially a lot of male people who I was not mature enough, like I said earlier, to really go to school. So the military is best for me. I really didn't see a lot of disadvantages in the military. Just saw a lot of pros. So.
Was it difficult for you?
Being away from family was the most difficult part at the beginning. You know, I was a 19-year-old kid, just freshly turned 19, on the other side of the country. You know, can't just drive home. So.
Can you describe your hardest memory?
Hardest memory. I guess, you know, just training in the desert. You train how you fight, so they try to make everything as realistic as possible. So, full gear setups, as warm climate as you can be in California in the desert, and pushing your body to the limits. That's about it.
What was that like?
Just like a football practice, a lacrosse practice, where you just want to quit, but you realize you can't because your coach is going to yell at you. If you quit in the military, you know, somebody could get killed. So.
How has this like impacted your life today?
Work ethic for sure. I definitely work a lot harder. There's not a lot of downtime. Keep everything neat. Usually always on time for everything, early. That's about it.
What were some of your like highs and lows of your daily life?
The lows would be waking up early and going to PT. The highs is getting off work and, you know, going back to the barracks where all the boys were living, and everyone getting together, you know, throwing meat on the grill, drinking some drinks and having fun, you know, talking and making jokes.
Did any of your family members feel uh, differently about your service than you did?
I don't think so. No, I think they all thought it was a really positive outcome and really positive experience.
What was going through your head when you were doing those training exercises?
Um, I can't wait to probably get a good meal. You know, when you're training or doing anything, you not really eating the best if you are eating at all. MREs, I don't really care how many people think that they're great. They're really not at all. It tastes horrible. I know a lot of campers in the civilian world. They're like, "Oh, we've had MREs. They're pretty good." They're not good. Not if you've had them as many times as we have. They're not that great. So, yeah, that's about that.
What was the food like?
Horrible. Horrible. It was just disgusting. Didn't even look like food most of the time. Even at the chow hall, you know, where you're supposed to be getting your actual meals. But it's like you can't blame the cooks because it's not their fault. It's just kind of what they were given, you know. They try to make it taste good, but it really just isn't good.
Who was the most impressive person you met?
Impressive. I would probably go back to my squad leader, Sergeant Ingram. No matter what it was, he was always there. Probably one of the biggest, fastest guys I've ever met in my life. Not to mention he put everyone else before himself. Yeah, it would just be like a training event, but somebody was getting shot at, he would be there as fast as he could. You'd see him 1 second, next thing you know, he's a mile up a hill, he just sprinted up with a couple 100 pounds on his back, you know. So, he was probably the most impressive guy I met there.
Have you ever met anyone that you consider more impressive than he is?
No. No, not yet.
So, what was the most important thing that you've learned from military life?
The most impressive thing that I've learned is just, you know, stay loyal. Loyal to your friends, family, everyone else, yourself. It's probably the most impressive thing I learned.
Your friends from the military, would you consider them family?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. They're always the first ones to text me if I've had a bad day. They're always the first ones to text me happy birthday. Ask me how my day was, how my night was. You know, and they would all be here if I needed them.
Who were your closest friends?
Nicholas Rashad Johnston, Mike D'Antonio, Tyson Hersberg. Those are all. I could go on. The list goes on. But Tyson Hersberg and Nick Johnson, they're both Massachusetts guys. Never met them until I got into the military. We just became the closest friends. We'd come home on leave. We'd meet up on leave, even though we just spent the last year together with not seeing our family. As soon as we got back to our families, a day would go by and be like, all right, I want to go hang out back out with them. So drive a couple hours to go see them. So they're probably my closest, but the list could go on.
After your training events, you said that you guys would go back and cook food and stuff on the grill. What else would you do?
Play video games. Play a lot of video games, and most of our time was spent together. You know, the only time that we were ever really alone was if we were falling asleep, going to bed. Other than that, nobody was alone. Everyone spent every single day together. You'd think that you'd get sick of it, but you really don't.
What in your current life would you most equate to your military life?
Work ethic. Definitely.
Have you built bonds with people that you work with now that you think are
Comparable?
comparable?
No. It's just you don't really go to through the same thing. You know, you can try. I've made some great friends here at work, and it just doesn't compare. I don't think it ever will. So.
What factors do you think makes it like that?
In the military, you know, especially in the infantry, you're training every day, and the fact that you might die, your best friend right next to you is gonna die. So it brings you a lot closer, and then you know that they're gonna do everything that they can to make sure that you're alive. At the end of the day, they don't worry about themselves; they worry about you. So you know, you come back in civilian world, and a lot of people just like to think about themselves or put themselves first. That's not how it is in the military. You don't really think about yourself. You think about the guy to your left and right. So.
What was the time like in the barracks?
It got a little wild. Be a little wild. I'd like to say it's probably like the biggest fraternity you could think of. It's a whole bunch of guys living together under one roof. Yeah, it's like a little hotel. You know, everyone's got their own little rooms or whatever. But ultimately, it's a huge building with hundreds of guys. So it's a lot of drinking, a lot of eating, and a lot of music and video games.
Was it fun when you guys were all just hanging out together?
Yeah, it was real fun. We'd back each other's trucks up, fill them up with water, you know, put a tarp in the back, make a huge pool out of it. The cops, the MPs, the military police would show up, and we'd just tell them to leave, kind of thing. This is our place, you know, this is where we live. You guys can go. It was our castle, you know. It was fun.
What did you do, like, after you guys would get back from a specific country that you're training in?
A lot of people think that you just come back and instantly rest. You know, you probably sleep deprived, hungry, you want good food. That's exactly what we did. We slept, and then grabbed as much food as we could. We'd all had our favorite places that we like to go to eat, and we'd all get together and go there. Be probably 20, 30 of us at a dinner table out to eat. So you have to call ahead. Like, hey, there's a whole bunch of us. We're hungry. We're coming in. So, but eat and sleep.
What was your favorite place that you guys would go to eat at?
We like tacos. So we had this place called California Burrito. It was easy. It was cheap, and it was right next to us. And then there's a lot of us like seafood, especially being on the East Coast. You know, I love my seafood. So if we kind of treated ourselves, we'd go up to Seattle, which is about an hour and a half away, and go to the Crab Pot, which is a really nice seafood restaurant right on the water. So that's where we'd go to kind of spend some money, but it was delicious.
What exact location did you guys, like, where were you stationed at?
Fort Lewis, Washington State, JBLM, Joint Base Lewis McChord. It turned into a Joint Base Lewis McChord. It was Fort Lewis, but they turned into a joint base once they connected the Air Force Base and the Army Base by a bridge, which is the stupidest thing.
Is there any other place that you wish that you were stationed out of?
No. I had options to kind of go anywhere or go other places, but no. Washington was fun. It was nice.
Do you have any regrets?
No.
How has being in the Army, like, impacted your life with, like, your daily lesson, like, your life lessons and stuff like that?
Just kind of keeping a positive head, really. Military really taught me that it could be worse. You know, there's a lot of things that could be worse. Running joke that we had was, it could be worse. You could be doing it in full MOP. MOP gear is like our chemical gear, which goes over all of our other equipment. So it really makes you hot. gas mask where you can barely breathe. So, yeah, just knowing that everything pretty much could be worse.
Would you consider yourself a hero?
No, I wouldn't consider myself a hero. I know some people who I would consider a hero, but no.
Who would some of those people that you would consider a hero be?
Just my mom. My mom and dad. I think they'd be heroes. Firefighters, police officers.
How did you end up coming to Cape Cod after the military?
I wanted to. The Cape is a beautiful place. Can't think of a better place to eventually raise a family and live, settle down. So I came back ultimately at first because I missed my family. It's been a couple of years since I saw them, missed a lot of holidays. So spending time with them was kind of like the biggest part. And, I stayed a little bit, and now I think this is where I'm going to reside and just eventually just live. So, been here about a year now, almost a year.
Thank you.
All set? Thank you guys.